Kevin, enterprises today, and this is just a sharp thought, let's say, that I had earlier, which is enterprises today are spending nearly 80% of their security budgets protecting, number one, devices that they don't own, traveling on networks that they don't control, and applications that don't belong to them. Most of it is sitting on the cloud. My analogy to this situation was that it's almost like a renter trying to buy home insurance, right? Homeowners insurance, that is. Do you see this changing at all in the near future? How, if at all?
Well, first of all, every time I hear the everything as a service or it's all in the cloud, it reminds me of, I think it's a meme where a dad's laying on the grass with his son and they're both looking up at the sky, and the son looks at his dad and he says, "So Daddy, what are clouds made of?" He looks at him and says, "Mostly Linux servers, son. Mostly Linux servers." Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
But back to your question with the everything as a service, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Once you extract your infrastructure, your network, and your devices, what are you left with as a company? You're left with identity, you're left with access, and you're left with data. So starting to understand that, and I think Artie said it extremely well, once you've been breached, once somebody's in, and they can pretend that they're somebody and they've got all the right access based on who they're pretending to be, you got to get back to the data conversation. I always look at it as a bridge. You got identity, you got data, and access is the conduit between them. If you don't understand this really well and this really well, you're building a bridge to nowhere. So I think the focus, which for years has been on identity and access, is now starting to shift to data, and it's overwhelming. And I think Artie said it well too, that it's so overwhelming. In fact, they don't know where to start. They're going to do the things they've been comfortable doing with for years. This is what we do. This is what we were trained to do. And to take a step back and say, holy cow, how much data is flowing in and out of my organization? Where's it going? How is it being used? So we bring the privacy lens into it. And it's more than just what is it, it's what's it being used for? I might have access to it, but I might not have the rights to actually do this thing with it that I'm going to do, which gets you into anonymization and all kinds of other pieces. There's a whole world around data that people are just scratching the surface on. And I think that's got to become the focus versus the perimeter versus the edge. I've got identity, I've got access, I've got data. That's where I've got to spend the limited resources that I have.